He said, they've all got a lot of guitars here. I said, yes, they got guitars. He said, do they sing? Oh, sorry, I'll say that again. As we started walking up the hill, he saw these girls and boys sitting there. He said, why are they sitting here? I said, they are come to see you, a big shot from the army, and they want to see your helicopter. We walked a few more steps up the hill towards the post. He said, they got a lot of guitars. Do they sing? I said, yes. He says, what do they say? I said, would you like to hear them? So he says, yes, I'd like to hear them. I told the post commander, tell them to sing. So some of the boys got together and started strumming the guitar. Since it was the 21st of December, they started singing Christmas carols. Christmas carols, as you know, are sung at Easter or they're sung during Christmas. So 21st of December, 25th is Christmas. So they all started singing. And the girls and boys join it, and they're very good voices. All the, basses, altos, sopranos, baritone, everything is there. And they mix very well because in the village they go to the church and they have a local hut as a church. And so they started singing Christmas carols. Now the tune is the same as any Christmas carol. So they were singing in Mizo. So General Jacob, who's a Jew, he's, by God, they're singing Christmas carols. I said, yes. I said, would you like to join it? So he joined in English and I joined in English. Tunes are the same. And we sang with these people for about half an hour, 40 minutes. Everybody's very happy. Then there was time up. He said, look, I think you're doing very well. Let's go back now. And he never went to my post. We got back into the helicopter in Vendippi after saying bye to all these girls and boys. They were very happy to meet us and they all gave us a good way. Now, why I wanted to mention this is people talk in insurgency areas that you have to win hearts and minds.
Right.
Yes, we do win hearts and minds because 99% of the people are innocent villagers. There are 1% who are insurgents or terrorists or whatever. So therefore, you don't judge the rest of the population in accordance with a certain small percentage which is trying to act tough, right? So bringing them to book. And as I spoke to you in Lieutenant Aliana's case, who gave us his weapons and we said he's okay, he's all white, and he married his girl, he got a dole from the government and he lived happily ever afterwards, we hope. The fact is that one has to encourage them to give up their weapons and come and join India, because we used to argue with these people underground also. That look, you join India, you can join the politics of India and become prime minister of the whole country. Why are you trying to make a separate nation out of this small little piece of land? Anyway, that was General Jacob's visit, and he was very impressed with the local people. And hearts and minds means that we used to bring by helicopter corrugated iron sheets free and present them to the village and said, if you want to build your huts, then you bring the labor and we'll bring the stuff. And we'll give you engineering guidance. In other words, you don't give something to some people and show your arrogance that you've given something to someone. No. You give something to somebody because it's better for you to make them your friends. So when you give something, you say, look, you produce the labor, we'll produce the codes, and we'll give you engineering assistance. And if you're stuck anywhere, we'll try and help you also. So you combine with them to build their huts and churches, and they get sort of a hall in every village to get people together whenever the village head wants to say something and all that. You need construction, and with the thatch roofs, doesn't stand against the serious storms that Mizoram gets, a very heavy rainfall. So corrugated iron sheet was the answer. They put bamboo poles as a roof, and then you put the corrugated iron sheet, and we had engineer officers which to help them to design the thing. But they did the construction. Then we should give them compliments for having constructed this. But these corrugated iron sheets and other nails and things we gave free. Government used to spend money for that. Just to show you how to win over the interior people in an area which is an insurgent state. So that was the army commander's visit. Now, shortly, Mr. Chibber had become the governor, the lieutenant governor. We are a good friend. And I think all of us got on very well together. We used to have parties together, and many times in Raj Nabas itself. And I think for the civilians, it was a sort of a punishment posting, especially bureaucrats and others, to be punishment posting there because the fear of bullets. You have to be careful. But if the military is acting well and has got control over the situation, and the police is functioning well, then security is more stabilized. So that's what we achieved in Mizoram. Now I must tell you another incident. You know, while I was in my headquarters, I got a call from the chief minister at about 10 o'clock at night. So I was in my bunker, as we call it, which is a little hut made there, quite comfortable. And about 10, 15 yards from my office. So Chief Minister, Mr. Chow Chonga rang me up. He said, look, Brigadier, I want some help. I said, all right, what help you want? He said, I don't know if you can do this, but there's a great friend of mine whose son is a underground hostel. And he has got a serious attack of malaria. And there's a lot of malaria in that area. And some of that malaria in the areas affects the brain, and then you can't save the man with any amount of treatment. So then we are afraid that he might get affected in the brain. So he has to be sent anti-malaria tablets and some penicillin and things like that so that he's treated. He's in the jungle. So I told him, I said, certainly I'll help you. What do you propose? He says, I've got a man who knows the location where it is. And it's on the road from Aizawl to Champhai. Champhai is on the Burmese border. This road, I had about 2 battalions on this road, doing patrolling every night. So northeast Mizoram and eastern Mizoram. It's in the middle of that. And he said, he knows the place. It's a day and a night's march. The man will not move at daytime, he'll only move at night. If I send you the man. So he should reach the area by about a couple of nights. And I want you to tell your patrols not to attack or to capture him. I said, all right, we'll do that for you. You send that man to my headquarters now. It is about 10 o'clock at night. So I said, I'll give you a password. You tell that man to give that password. For about 4 or 5 sets of guards from my gate to my office. So he has to give that password. And I instructed my guard commanders that here a man is coming who's going to be my agent. This is the password he gave. So he was conducted to my office at about 11:30 at night. And I called my brigade major, Madan Verma, to be present. And we sat down together with this man and we examined his bag as to what medicines he was carrying. And we saw, yes, there were anti-malaria medicines and other medicines for bringing up the man's, vitamins and things like that. He said, fine. And then I asked this man how he would go. So he said, I'll go at night through the jungles. He says, I won't go on the road. I'll go through the secret paths. I said, fine. And you'll go somewhere towards Champhai. He said, yes. I said, fine. Then what I do is, you act as my agent. I'll give you a code word. And if any patrol pakdos you, or you get captured, you give the code word to the patrol commander. So I instructed my 2 battalion commanders by radio shortly after he left. Here is my agent going towards Champhai through the jungles, and this is his code word. If you capture him and he gives this code word, kindly release him. On that basis, he went to that spot in the jungle, which is about 3/4 of the distance to Champhai, through the jungle, handed over his stuff. He left that night. There was the next day, which he was not moved during daytime. Then the next night after that, the third night or fourth night, he came back. I said, when you come back, you will report back to my office. He came back to my office and I checked out with him that he delivered the medicines. He said, yes. Then I rang up the chief minister. I said, the job is done. I said, now who was this man? Chief minister said, thank you so much. The underground leader, Lal Denga, who was a Havaldar of the Assam Rifles, and he was the leader of the underground. He retired from the Assam regiment and he went into Mizoram around about 1976 or 77. And he arranged the underground, the Mizo National Front. He created a party. Correct. And they are the ones who created the problem in Mizoram. They attacked some Assam Rifle battalions, then a whole brigade of infantry of ours went there to try and control him, and that's it. So he was the leader of the underground. And this man was his ADC. He was a self-styled lieutenant. And he was sweet on Lal Denga's daughter or something. So he's going to be his son-in-law. So I just wanted to tell you that we did that for the underground leader. There is a sequel to this, which in case I forget later, I'll tell you now.
Yes, sir.
When I became army commander, I'm going to tell you about it later. When I became an army commander in Eastern Army, the man who was the boss of the Assam Rifles there, we had about 4 or 5 battalions, four battalions of Assam Rifles there. The man who was the boss, he was a foot colonel. He knew me very well. And then when I became the army commander, he said, sir, the Mizo insurgency is over and out. And Mr. Lal Denga has made a deal with Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and he has taken over as chief minister of Mizoram Congress Party. The actual chief minister who won an election was a chap called Lalthon Hola. Mr. Lalthon Hola, he had become the chief minister, but Indira Gandhi had a deal with Lal Denga. You call off the emergency, they call off the underground movement, you join India, and we'll make you chief minister there, Congress Party. So he became chief minister there. So when I became Eastern Army commander, this chap rang me up. He said, we are requesting you to visit Mizoram. I said, what for? There is no insurgency there now. The insurgency is finished. And for your information, I think it's one of the few areas in the world where there was a very strong insurgency. And eventually we brought it back as a peaceful state of India. There's no problem. In Nagaland, there's still some problems. Not in Mizoram. Right? It's very interesting. Because the Mizos are basically one family, and when they are very staunchly antagonistic to the idea of India earlier, to convert them, to bring them into the mainstream, and some of their officers reach high rank in the Indian administrative service also. Many of them, for instance, is Roman Thanga, who was the deputy commissioner. He became an additional secretary in the government of India in Delhi. He came and met me after my return. See? And that police chief in my time, who was a superintendent of police in Aizawl, he became a IG of police in the Bangalore area, the Indian police. So the point is to absorb them into the country. They've got high jobs in the police or in the administrative service or even in politics. So Lal Denga became the chief. I'll tell you about that story later when I talk about my stint as the army commander in Eastern Command. Because he invited me there. So I just want to tell you that my relationship with this Mr. Lal Denga, who was the ex-underground boss, started with my having saved the life of his son-in-law. So these are stories of Mizoram. I think we have come to the end of that.
Yes.
I just see for a second whether I have anything more to say to you. Yeah, there's one more case I want to tell. Mizoram had an education minister. I'm forgetting his name, starts with a V. And this man, I told you that I was invited on 26 January 1974 for the big show that they had for the Republic Day. in a big ground which belonged to the Assam rifles of that area, but which the government used to use because it's a big flat, to do the flag hoisting of the Indian tricolor and make a few speeches by the governor and by the chief minister and all that sort of thing. So similarly, the chief minister had allowed some of his ministers to go to various other big towns, like Lungle in the south, Longtalai in the south, and Koloseb in the north. Koloseb, I've told you about earlier, there was a CRPF battalion there on the road from southern Assam to Aizawl. So the man who was to go to Koloseb was the education minister. And I got it while I was on this parade ground to celebrate the occasion about an hour or two before the time when the tricolor had to be put up. Speeches, etc., were going to be made. I got intelligence that this intelligence of this education minister had got with him, staying in his house, one of the top leaders of the underground, a man called self-styled Full Colonel. Malsoma Colony was his name. Malsoma Colony. And Malsoma Colony was number 2 or 3 in the underground headquarters in the Chittagong Hill Tracts across the border to Bangladesh. Apparently, he was visiting this area. And he was staying with the education minister. That intelligence I managed to get. So when the intelligence minister left by his jeep to go a few hours earlier to Koloseb, some of my intelligence people noticed that the man riding next to him in his jeep was Malsoma Colony. They recognized him. So I got that intelligence. So I, on the radio set, PRC 25 I had with me while the celebration was going on in Aizawl. I contacted the head of the CRPF, Lieutenant Colonel type of man, commandant of the particular battalion. I said, this was going to happen, so keep a watch. First, get some of your informers to confirm that this is Malsama Colony. Let the flag hoisting be done. After the flag hoisting is over, don't disturb the program. When he gets back to go away, you please have him arrested because he's an underground. So that's exactly how it happened. The education minister put the Indian tricolor up on the mast, and a lot of clapping was done, and a big feast was laid on. Malsama Colony was attending all this. And when the education minister got into his car to drive to his, and Malsama Colony sat next to him, it was a jeep, and the education minister had the Indian tricolor flag on his car because he's a minister. You see? So then the CRPF people surrounded him. And one of the guard commanders said, sir, if you don't mind, we'd like to check the identity of your passenger here. So the education minister said, sir, you can't do that. I'm the education minister, and he's my guest. You can't check it. I said, no, sir, sorry, this is the order. So he asked him. One of the chaps said, you are Mr. Master Malsoma Colony? He said, yes. Yes, sir. Immediately, please step out. You're under arrest. So education minister was very upset. He says, I'm an education minister. I'm flying the government's flag here on my car. You can't disturb my passenger. He said, sorry if you asked me. Chief secretary was everything present there. So was the governor. So I told the chief secretary and the governor, I said, this is what's happened. My task is to capture the underground. They were a bit upset. Chow Chonga, the chief minister, had a cabinet meeting straight away. And the chief minister, the lieutenant governor also called me. And they said that we don't want to arrest Malsama Colony. I said, I'm sorry. My task is to catch the underground. And your minister, we're not saying anything to him. Otherwise, he is also liable for action because he has been assisting the underground. And we won't say anything to him. But as far as the underground man is concerned, it's a job to catch these people, so we catch him. So we got hold of him, brought him to Aizawl and placed him in custody, and he was interrogated to find out all the doodas about it. This is an incident, of course, Mr. Vinod Tukal and others were checking every 2 hours to say that we're not torturing him or something. We didn't do that, but we investigated. And then we handed him over to the police at the due time to say he's an underground boss, and therefore he has to be checked and court case started, and then let the court decide what has to be done with him. It is a story. Now there's something else here which we have to say. I knew that there was a lot of effort from the Home Ministry of the Central to make approaches to the underground in Mizoram to bring them overground. Now, this is their initiative. It's nothing to do with the military.
Right.
So, probably this is one of the cases where the government was trying to go sweet on some of the underground people who wanted to visit, because when they come and see how the administration is functioning, how flags are put up and how bugles are blown and guards of honor and all that sort of thing that the minister gets, I mean, they get a feeling of what it is to belong to a great country.
Right.
Rather than fight around in the jungles. So I agree with that.
Right.
But that is not my task. So that is it. And added to this was another case that I want to tell you. There was a chap called Brigadier Silo. Now, Brigadier Silo is a Mizo. He joined the Indian Army as, I think, an infantry officer. He rose to the rank of brigadier, commanded a brigade. He knew my brother very well. My brother had been border roads in Aizawl and in Mizoram, and he knew a lot of Mizos. And among those whom he had met during World War II, and earlier were these people. So this chap was a brigadier. He retired from the Indian Army, and he came to Aizawl. And he came to meet me. And I met him with great love and affection because he was a friend of my elder brother. He used that. He even told me that I'm visiting everywhere here. I want to join politics to see if I can join the Congress party and I'll try and become chief minister of this place. I said, that's very good because he had been a brigadier in the Indian Army, so he would have the adequate sense of loyalty and discipline, and that would be good for us. So he said, I would request 2 men as orderlies for my protection and also for assisting me in my work. I said, fine. So I ordered from 2 Assam Rifles battalions people to accompany. But the ones that I asked to accompany him, one of them was one of my intelligence agents, a Mizo. I said, you keep your ears open and eyes open to see what the brigadier does and let me know, because playing politics is politics and we want to know what it is. Sure enough, when the chap went to a big town on between southern Mizoram and northern Mizoram, there's a place called Sachip, which is the area he belonged to. It's a vast area. He went there. He went into the interior to give talks everywhere so that people would join him and vote for him as the next chief minister. He used to downgrade the army too much, tell all sorts of lies about the army. Then he came out with a list of 23 cases from 1977 onwards. No, sorry, 1967 onwards. I'm talking, I was there in 1973, 74.
Okay.
All the nasty things that the army has done, whom they killed, what they did and all that. All of these full of lies. So this was there, and I managed to get a copy of this. And I took a very dim view of this. And I contacted Brigadier Silo. I said, you're a hell of a chap. You're a brigadier of the Indian Army, and you are downgrading the Indian Army and telling lies in the paper. So he told me, Brigadier, I'm playing a little politics. Try and bear with me. I said, but you can't say lies about the Indian Army that we did this, we did that, when none of this was really doing. I mean, these are normal operations. And the underground people, somebody has shot somebody or killed somebody, we have to take action against that. I gave a few examples. I said, you converted all of those into horrible things, or with a little padding to say how nasty the Indian Army is and must be sorted out. He was telling the local public that if I become brigadier, I'll sort the army. See? You would do no such thing. You've been a friend of my brother, so I'm looking after you, but I'm sorry. I'm ruining these 2 men now because I've got to know what you do. And I sent intelligence report to Army headquarters about what this man was up to. Now I must tell you that the Home Minister at that time in the central government was a chap called Brahmananda Reddy. Brahmananda Reddy came and visited Aizawl. So when he was visiting Aizawl, I got a call from the Chief Secretary, Mr. Ram Agarwal, to say, Brigadier, would you be kind enough to come at such and such time because the Home Minister would like to meet you? So I said, fine. So I went there to the government headquarters. And then at the appropriate time, Mr. Brahmanandi Reddy came in from whatever conference he was holding. He met me and he said, General, why don't you go a little slow on your operations? Because we are trying to get these musos to forget the insurgency and come over ground. I said, that's fine, you do that. But if you want me to stop my operations, I need an order from the Chief of Army Staff down that line. I mean, the Eastern Army commander should give me an order, and my general should give me the order. I can't take orders from you, you being the Home Minister. So would you kindly speak to the Defense Minister, who should then speak to the Army Chief and give instructions that I should be ordered to lay off, in which case I'll lay off. I'll eat free rations here and be done. He said, no, but I'm the Home Minister. And now, for instance, you're after the tail of one this Brigadier Silo, but we in the Home Ministry trying to encourage him because we want him to become the Chief Minister here. I said, that's your business, not mine. But if he's speaking against the Indian Army, I'm going to go for it. So that's it. If he appears here, I'll arrest him. That's it. So I just wanted to tell you that Brigadier Silo felt that unless he calls the army with dirty names, he won't get the votes. And he also felt probably that the underground would not be happy with him and may attack him if he didn't speak against the army. So that was the incident. That's the Home Ministry doing, but I got no orders from my superiors to lay off. So I continued with my operations. For your information,